Hello, everybody. What's going on? This is Ray Rauth coming to you with another edition of Sportscastr News. And I'm here with my boys, Joe Noobo and Lawrence Owen. What's happening, fellas?
What's going on?
What's going on?
All right, Sportscaster. I'm just going to go through this story that we saw today, and then we'll get into what we really want to talk about. So the Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray had a strong rookie season that included being the most accurate deep ball passer in the NFL. That means more accurate than the precious Patrick Mahomes, more accurate than Deshaun Watson. That means we are just poised to seeing Kyler Murray break out, obviously, as the next GOAT of all time, right? I mean, that's what this article's got to be saying to us. But what this got us thinking was, I'm a Patriots fan. Joe is a dreaded Baltimore Ravens fan.
Correct.
Lawrence is my old rival, the Indianapolis Colts fan. He's not the Colts. He's a fan of the Colts.
I am the Colts.
He is the Colts. And what we thought we would do is we would give our two breakout players from each of our teams. Joe, obviously, with the Ravens. Lawrence, obviously, with the Colts, and myself with the Patriots. But what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the Ravens' two breakout players. We know who each other picked. Lawrence and I are going to start and give our opinion on his two breakout players. And then Joe's going to tell us why we're either right or wrong, or why they're going to, and actually give the real evidence of why he believes they're going to be the breakout players. This is probably what we should
Don't expect a lot, but it's okay. It'll be a good conversation.
Good. Lawrence, do you want to start with the Ravens players, or do you want me to go first?
I think you might want to, because I was busy doing other stuff, so I need to go back and look really quick. I did a little bit of research on your guys, but I didn't do a whole lot on his. I know one, but I don't know who that other guy actually is.
That's why I picked him.
I also think it's super important. I mean, we have to share this. We're all family here now, right?
Uh-huh.
You guys have to understand how disheveled Lawrence looked a minute and a half ago. I mean, he's got his video face on. I'll tell you that much. All right, so Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, is the first player that Mr. Joe Noobo picked out for a breakout season with the Ravens. And Joe, I want to disagree with you, but I think when it comes to Hollywood, I mean, look, the kid can go 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye. He's like a 1975 souped up Ford Mustang. He's got elite separation. He can take that top off of defense. I think that the little bit of film I watched on him today, what I realize is he's more than just a vertical threat. He's a very strong route runner. Obviously, though, in the vertical game, the guy is an absolute nightmare to try to keep up with. I think that what could hinder him, I'm not saying it's going to, but what could hinder him, and there's really nothing he can do about it. He's got small hands, small arms. He's got a small catch radius.
Yeah, he's a small dude.
Yeah, that forces Lamar to hit more of a perfect pass. But one thing that I think he needs to do this season, what I want to see, I almost called him Marquise Lee. I apologize. Marquise Brown do. He needs to get a little bit more physical, man. He's not one that likes to take a hit. I was looking at his draft profile just, to refresh my memory what he was like in college. And three different analysts all said that he'll run out of bounds when he sees, pressure rather than taking a hit and picking up a couple more yards.
Mm-hmm.
And contested catches are a problem. That doesn't mean that he can't be the breakout player. That doesn't mean that he can't be the next Tyreek Hill of the NFL. But I think, in my opinion, I would like to see him take those steps to prove his eliteness, because I think he can be an elite quarterback. Now, what I was impressed with today, as everybody knows, I'm the analytics guy of our department here. He ranked 35th out of 81 in DVOA, and I think for a rookie, that's not bad at all. I mean, I think that's a pretty good spot for a rookie wide receiver with a second-year quarterback who basically wanted to throw the ball more, but was being forced to run more than he wanted to. I got no issues with him sitting out of 35. He also drew 2 pass interferences this year, which is, of course, is for 71 yards. So that's 71 yards of offense just in pass interference penalties.
Yep.
Now, to consider it a breakout season for him, I'd like to see him move into the top 20 for DVOA. I think that's where he needs to sit, and I think he's got the talent to be there, so that's the breakout season. I think he caught like 80 passes last year or something, or 71 passes, similar something like that.
Well, he had 71 targets, but he caught 46.
He caught 46.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd like to see him, and I think he has the talent to do this. I'd like to see him catch anywhere between 80 to 100 passes next year. You know what I mean? And go for about anywhere between 800 to 900 yards. That's sort of my thing for Breakout, because he has that talent to do that. And to me, that's how, maybe it's unfair, but that's how I'm going to be judging him next season. I'm not going to say it's going to be a failure if he doesn't do that, but that kid's he's big game material. And I think that he has all the potential. Lawrence, what's your keys on Mr. Hollywood Brown?
I like Hollywood Brown. The only problem is, in my opinion, is he disappeared a lot. All right. I watched him play. There were some games where he would actually show up and he would make very big time, big moment catches in games.
Mm-hmm.
The type of plays that literally changed the dynamic, completely changed how you feel about the game. And then there was other games where he just completely would just disappear. He'd be on the field, but you would not hear or see his name at all. So I think that what you need from Hollywood is a little bit more consistency. Okay. You need him to be able to go out there and prove that no matter who's on him or what you're doing offensive wise, whether it's, trying to focus on running the football or whatnot, because you're still going to need to have guys out there running routes and stuff. I think he needs to be the guy that Jackson can rely on to be open when he absolutely needs him to be open. Every game, every play, every quarter of every week.
Joe, tell us about Hollywood Brown.
All right. So both of you guys made very, very, very good points, and you won't hear me argue against either of you about the points you made. I think you both were spot on about both of your points. However, there are some things that you guys are overlooking. The first thing being that he was not fully healthy all season last year. He had 2 big screws in his feet. Now, it's pretty tough to play football and to be running full speed with those 2 big screws in your feet. He got those removed. He's put on a lot of weight. Actually, I don't know if you guys, obviously you're probably not following him as closely as a Ravens fan is probably, but he's putting in a lot of work. And believe me, I was... like my Ravens fans already know that watch my stuff. I was not a big Hollywood Brown fan before the draft. I was not at all big on Hollywood Brown. I did not like him. But then, after I saw his rookie season and I saw this connection that you just cannot explain between him and Lamar, I think it has a lot to do with that they grew up in the same area down there in South Florida. As crazy as that sounds, they have this connection that you just cannot explain. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And another reason that I wanted to talk about Hollywood Brown being the breakout is because I think Ravens fans would want me to mention like a J.K. Dobbins or something, which actually is exactly the reason I chose Hollywood Brown, is because I think our running backs are going to be a nightmare. And I throw Lamar in there, and I know there's the joke about Lamar being a running back, and that's not what I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is Lamar is an amazing runner. So him, along with Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill, that's going to be a nightmare for defenses. And guess what? You just have to slip one time, and Hollywood is going to beat you over the top, go all the way to the house.
I misunderstood what you said by nightmare. I thought you meant it was going to be bad. I was just shocked.
A nightmare for opposing defenses.
Yeah,
a nightmare for opposing defenses. Yeah. So, yeah, which is why I actually think you're right, Ray, that if he hits anything less than 800 yards, it will be a disappointment for me as well as for a lot of people. So, yeah, I am expecting him to have a very big year coming into his second season. And also, another thing that Lawrence brought up is that he would disappear sometimes, which I think is a fair point. But to be fair, we didn't really have many other options, receiving options for Lamar Jackson. So if Hollywood was getting shut down, of course you have Mark Andrews, but if Mark Andrews is hurt, he might not be an option either. So we didn't really have too many options other than a Miles Boykin, who was okay, Willie Snead, who's okay, chain mover, but we didn't really have many options. So that's just, but aside from that, I think I agree with everything you guys said.
And that's why he couldn't disappear the way he did, because your options were limited. You had him and basically your tight ends.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Lawrence, do you have any rebuttal to what Joe had to say about Mr. Brown?
What I just said.
That's it.
All right. So hopefully this next one sparks a little bit more debate. I mean, that was a pretty tame one.
Right.
But I got to tell you guys, Joe, I think, threw both of us for a loop today because we were waiting for his two breakout players. And is it Tyus? Did I say that right? Is it Tyus?
Yep.
Tyus Bowser, 2017 draft pick, outside linebacker.
Yep. Ravens fans are hating me as well, by the way. Just letting you know.
I'm sure they are right now because I was familiar with with Bowser, but not overly So I watched like 5-10 minutes of film on Marquis. I watched about 5-10 minutes on all our players that we're talking about today. I spent 45 minutes on Tyus Bowser, doing my thing. Yeah. Looking up what people wrote about him, watching him. Try finding tape about the guy too, man. You got to really dig on YouTube to get some. I got more college stuff. It was hard to get NFL stuff on him. But here's what I got about him. Obviously, fast, athletic, explosive. That's what I really liked about him. He's really good on the edge, getting after the quarterback. I think that he could actually be a nightmare. One thing I really liked about him, and this was a lot of his NFL highlights. This is what I really liked about him. For the limited time he played, now he was limited in his snaps, but here's what I liked about him. He has closing speed, which means if the running back can get into that second level, he can shut them down. A lot of times, once a running back gets to the linebackers, they're able to maneuver and get themselves free. He can stop them at that 4 or 5 yard and not let up those extra 3, 4, 5, 6 yards to get close to that first down. That was one thing I really, really liked about him. But even with his limited play, he still got to the quarterback 8.5 times in the last 3 years, and I absolutely love that. Now, this I had to research because I couldn't have told you this, but this was the consensus I got from him, and I think this probably could be his problem in the NFL. And then I'll tell you why I think the Ravens will keep him forever. He gets worn down very easy. That's all that I kept reading about him. He gets worn down against physical blockers. And that's everything, which is concerning late in the game when you need when your defense is already wearing out. If he gets worn down by physical blocking and you're going up against a team like you guys have the Colts this year, you have to face the Indianapolis Colts. That's an offensive line that's going to bang hard. That's a game that Bowser could completely disappear in. Not because he's not talented. He's a little undersized, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean he's not talented, but if he's getting broken down, that's where I could see him kind of stopping. But he's a high motor guy, high effort guy. That's perfect for the Ravens system. I've seen John Harbaugh, very similar to Bill Belichick, so I take this as a compliment. I've seen Harbaugh take guys with attitudes, like those kind of attitudes, like Belichick does, and turn them into superstars. Not necessarily because of their talent, but because they fit that system, the way their attitudes and build up. So even if his play limits, I could see him as a leader of this team very soon, because that's really a lead by example. And to me, even though he's struggling, and I don't see him as your breakout player this year, I'm assuming that his attitude on the field is probably the same as his practice attitude. I see him as a perfect Raven player in that locker room.
Okay.
Lawrence. Man, I'm going over your stinking defensive roster, and I'm like, holy crap.
Right.
You see Judon, Bowser, Ferguson, McPhee. You got all these guys, man. And I think didn't you get Jacksonville's guy too?
Campbell, yep. Calais.
Yeah. Oh my God. So
Derek Wolfe from the Broncos as well.
Yeah, and we're talking about Tyus Bowser.
So anyway,
that's my problem. He got 5.5 sacks or something last year, which is impressive. But now you got all these extra big name guys that aren't necessarily super big time pass rushers. Like, Campbell's not known for pass rush. He's mostly known for, clogging that middle, but he does have very impressive up the middle pass rush ability. Wolf has got some pass rush ability. You got, obviously you got Judon there. I mean, you tagged him for a reason. For him to break out, somebody's going to have to disappear. That's how I see it. I mean, because you added, even though you didn't add anything pass rush wise in the draft, you added that type of ability in the offseason when it comes to free agency. And that's going to put a lot of work on him. Now, the one thing that it could help him with is the fact that everybody's going to be worried about the other players when it comes to blocking. And he's a nobody right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be left one-on-one or even forgotten about at times. So that could help him early. But if he starts to, as you say, begin to break out early in the season and start to make a name for himself, I think if he breaks out too early in the season, I think you might start to see that kind of level out a little bit as teams start to realize that he's there and he's got some speed and ability.
Joe, before you give your sort of rebuttal and your points, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Because it kind of just popped up to my head. So let's say the whole Ed Reed thing goes to hell in a handbasket. You know what I mean?
Okay. What do you mean?
I know that, well, the Ravens have talked about just trying to get out of his contract, and I know they can't, but let's just say things end badly with Ed Reed, right?
Uh-huh.
Is Bowser athletic enough to convert to a strong safety?
No, I don't think so.
He's not fast enough?
No.
Good, he's 240 something too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so okay.
But
the
he's
thing
athletic
about
as hell, though.
He is athletic, but the thing about Bowser is that he's more your typical 3-4 outside linebacker. That's what I would say. He's very more like, in the box. He will rush the passer, but he's more so he's going to drop back into coverage. He's going to make plays near the line of scrimmage. He's going to tackle the runner, play the ball a little bit more. But the reason I chose Tyus Bowser to break out, and believe me, I know this is not a popular opinion amongst Ravens fans at all. In fact, people think I'm crazy when I say this. But the reason I said this is, Ravens fans probably wanted me to mention like Jalen Ferguson, who calls himself Sack Daddy. I call him Pressure Daddy because he has not earned the name Sack Daddy yet because he has not get any sacks. He's still getting pressures. So we need to see some sacks from Sack Daddy before I can give him that name. But yeah, so I'm not expecting much from Jalen Ferguson just yet. The reason I said Tyus Bowser is because, yes, we added so many, additions to this defensive line. No doubt about it. Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, and I'm sure we're going to have some packages where we have Calais Campbell rushing off the edge because he's so versatile. He's versatile enough to do that because that's just what our defense does, man. Wink Martindale is very creative. But the reason I think Tyus Bowser is because everybody's going to be so focused on this defensive line, right? Or Judon. He's the franchise player. We just franchise tagged him. You got to watch out for Judon. I think Tyus Bowser is going to have the type of year that Zadarius Smith had, because the year prior that Zadarius Smith had his breakout season in Baltimore and he got paid by the Packers, nobody really knew who he was. It's the same thing with Tyus Bowser. Nobody really knows who he is unless you're a Ravens fan. He's going to come in. He may not have like a type of 8-sack season. He might not be very high in sacks, but I could see him getting 6-7 sacks, have some tackles, have really good numbers. And I think he's going to get overpaid. And I don't think it's going to be by the Ravens. But since it's his contract year, he's going to break out because he wants to get paid. That's really my main argument.
Is it his contract year? I thought he was drafted in 17.
No, it's his contract year.
Oh, it is his contract year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So
he needs a big year then, just financially.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So he's going to break out. We've seen it time and time again. We have like a factory. We just push out outside linebackers, defensive linemen. That's what the Ravens do. And I think Tyus Bowser is that next piece coming out of this factory. So that's the reason I chose him.
Right. Joe, you got anything to say to that?
Well,
or
like
Lawrence, I mean?
Well, Joe,
yeah,
he already said it. No, you pretty much said exactly what I said. The other team are going to have to be focused on that, on that front line in order, and that's going to help him. But being an outside lineman, you say he's going to drop back in coverage. You mean this 243-pound guy is going to be covering receiving tight ends like Kelsey and guys?
Well,
like
more
that?
like covering like
more
the
running
flat,
backs.
covering the flat, covering running backs, that type.
Okay,
He's not going to be covering tight ends.
So he's going to be more in a zone coverage type of thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
covering running backs and man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's very similar to a Patriots defense. How the linebackers sit back in zone and then cover running backs.
Or come up, look like they're getting ready to pass rush, then back off, and that's how they get their picks.
Yep.
Colts do that a lot in their zone. So, no, I kind of agree with it, with what you said there, because like I said, he's going to have to be just completely forgotten about while he's on the field. And he doesn't have to be completely forgotten about to actually produce. I think he'll produce because he is quick. He's 243. He's what? Oh, what was
he's 6'3", 242. Yeah, he's a pretty big boy. He's athletic though, like Ray was saying for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, but what was his 3-cone? Just curious. Did we look that up?
I couldn't find anything about his combine scores.
Yeah, he might not have ran at the combine. It's possible.
No, and the NFL has like archived all like the older combine stuff, and it's all gone now off the website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't get anything past like 2019.
It's awful. I hate their new setup.
Yeah,
so weird.
You can go on the Draft Network and get profiles and stuff, or like Williams Sports, but you can't get combine scores.
Yeah,
you're right. That sucks.
See, so many people talk about how big a 40 time is. In my opinion, the 3-cone is by far the most important speed agility workout that you can do, because it shows how fast you get in and out of your breaks, how quickly you can go from dead stop to
I got it here. I got it here.
Okay.
He ran his 3-cone in 6.75.
Okay,
there you go. That's a good time.
A 4.640.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? He's only got a 37 vertical. That's where he wouldn't fit into the strong safety spot, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not that athletic.
Well, I mean, strong safety is mostly a box safety, anyhow.
He could be like a money back. Well, but I wouldn't.
It is, but you got to take on tight ends, right?
Yeah,
you got to take
exactly.
on tall tight ends and go.
That's where I don't think he could. Yeah, I don't think he could. But yeah, like covering running backs and that just short stuff, he can do that for sure. That's the type of player he is. He's more of like that traditional 3-4 outside linebacker for sure.
All right.
So, and let me throw one more thing out there. I think Ravens fans wanted me to mention Patrick Queen, who was our first round pick, but I never want to say rookies are going to break out because we haven't seen them play in the NFL. We don't know what to expect from them just yet. So that's the reason.
I hate when people put expectations on rookies. I saw it with N'Keal Harry the last year, and I was you know what? When Sony Michel was drafted, I said, let the kid just play. You know what I mean? Don't have expectations. Then I put expectations on N'Keal Harry. Well, he wasn't listening to me, but you know what I mean? I had all these expectations and he let us down. You never know how a rookie is going to perform. And actually, one of the guys we're going to talk about today was a rookie last season for right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last year for Lawrence's guys, and he's a guy that injury really killed expectations, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's a good transition, Joe. If you're okay, if we move into that now. Okay, Lawrence, did you do this on purpose? Your two guys you picked, because you took two guys very near and dear to my heart.
After I picked them, I was like, both these boys are Ohio State guys.
You picked two Ohio State. You picked two Ohio State Buckeyes, and I was just like, oh Lord, my heart fluttered. Let me tell you something. If you go back to 2017, was that when Malik was drafted? No. Yes.
2017.
Malik Hooker was 2017. That's when I started doing YouTube videos. I did Patriot videos only, but I did a 25-minute video on Hooker because we just loved him in Ohio. But he needs to have a big season. 5th-year option, declined. What was he, the 15th overall pick or something of that nature?
Something like that, yeah.
5th-year option declined. If you're a first-round draft pick, you're almost guaranteed to get your 5th year picked up. It gets declined. Staying healthy is going to be a big thing for him, and being consistent on the field. Now, one thing that I realized as I was doing my research here is that he's showing some of the talent and explosive playmaking that he can make that we know from the Ohio days, but he's been inconsistent. And I got a quote here from your defensive coordinator, whose last name I couldn't pronounce, so I didn't write it down. What is it?
Eberflus.
Eberflus.
Mm-hmm. I understand why it's so hard.
Yeah, but he said, if you were going to be an all-pro player or a high-performance starter, consistency just has to be there. And he was talking directly about Malik Hooker. And like I said, I love the kid. I think he's got all the talent in the world. My concern about him having a breakout year in Indy or playing for Indy at all is you guys play a lot of high safety. He's so much better as a split zone guy. at least from a consistency standpoint. Now, he played a lot of high zone in Ohio, so it's really shocking me that he can't find his spot in Indianapolis, but I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's going to be his breakout year, and it has nothing to do with him. And I think that it has everything to do with Julian Blackmon. And I think that they believe that that's his replacement. And it's unfortunate. Like, I'm not gonna dog on an Ohio guy. I'm gonna find everything great to say about them. Look, he's a great kid. His consistency is bad, and that's what has really killed him. Because if you look at him, he's fast, he's strong, he's big, he can open field tackle. He's not afraid for contact. He can get dirty if he needs to get dirty. But he's had brilliant moments and he's had non-brilliant moments. And I think it was against the Chiefs when the defense looked phenomenal. Was it against the Chiefs? And he was the only one making look stupid. You know what I mean? When he was on the field.
No, he didn't play against the Chiefs.
Oh, no, the Chiefs. What game was it that
they played? Okay, they did look good against the Chiefs, but it wasn't him that was doing that. But against the Chargers, week 1, he made a great play in the end zone. But and then against Denver, he played very well. But he missed, I think, 3 or 4 games last year, just sporadically due to injury. And that first one happened to have been that Chiefs game.
Oh, it was the Chiefs game he missed. Yeah, he's missed at least 2 games every year. That's what I saw on his injury report this year, right? Joe, what do you think of Mr. Hooker? Who, by the way, has a great name.
Right. It's the best name ever. Right. So I got to admit, I didn't know much because I didn't really scout Malik. I got to be honest. Back then, I was not like into the scouting game at all. I was just, barely like getting interested in college football. So I don't really remember much of him in Ohio State. But what I will say, what I do remember hearing from like those draft analyst guys, is that a comparison to Ed Reed, right? So that wakes you up. You're like, oh, okay. And just looking at his numbers, like he's nowhere even near that if you're just looking at his numbers, right? And of course, injuries are a big part of it. And I think consistency might be also as well. But yeah, I mean, right now, I don't think he's lived up to his first round pick. If it was me saying it just, from an outsider's perspective, like, I mean, 7 picks in 3 years isn't bad. But it's not, top level safety like you were expecting when you drafted Malik Hooker, in my opinion. So I do think he's disappointed a little bit, but of course he's still young. He has some more potential to grow, and this could be that season.
All right. So here I go. Last year was his most healthy year that he's had all season. And because of that, Malik Hooker ended up playing near the line of scrimmage like a strong safety more than he played at single high. Go back, if you ever go back and watch tapes, you will watch him up playing against the run a lot, which is unbelievable. Why? Why in the world would you do that when you have strong safety position on the field at the same time? I never understood that. Also, Malik Hooker was not drafted for this defense. Malik Hooker was drafted when Chuck Pagano was still the head coach. So, and Chuck Pagano at the time was running a 3-4, completely different style and more of a man coverage, right? They've got Hooker playing in a position. I mean, he not only was he young, but he had to flip schemes. Then he gets hurt his first 2 years, season-ending injuries his first 2 years. Last year, he finally starts to get semi-healthy, and they start playing him in a weird way. More against the run than saving against the deep pass. If you would watch like against the Buccaneers, Winston threw like 500 yards against the Colts. All right, and like 4 passes that went over 40 yards, and 3 of those, Malik Hooker was within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage when the ball was thrown, which is not where he's supposed to be. I do like the fact that you brought up Julian Blackmon, though, Ray. Julian Blackmon is an interesting fit because he could play free safety very, very well because he started off as a cornerback, but he's hurt. right? He's going to take a while for him to get into shape. I think that first 4 weeks of this season will be make or break for Hooker. And I think if Hooker actually comes out and Matt Eberflus plays him, like you say, maybe split safety, I would love to see him and Blackman out there together, right?
That's such that he's so much stronger in a split zone with safeties than he is as a single high. I would love if they would change that safety division, that safety set, and put them to a split zone. I think every Colts fan would be in love with him.
Yeah, I think him and Blackman splitting it, the deep zone. But the problem is the Colts have a very good, strong safety right now on Kari Willis that was a rookie last year as well. And he's a box safety that's just absolutely monstrous when it comes to run support. But I think, yeah, if Malik can just cover one half of the deep ball, his speed, athleticism, and ball hawking skills will be like 10 times more apparent than what they have been the first couple years. So that's my thought process on Malik Hooker.
I mean, I can't argue your thought process. I love Hooker. I love Malik Hooker. I think he's been used wrong in Indianapolis, which is becoming a common theme in our conversations, Lawrence, with different players. Yeah, and I think if they could put him into some sort of split zone or double high instead of that single high defense, and you're right, Hooker should be nowhere near the line of scrimmage doing run support. He should be back, and I'd like to see him go on man coverage, you know what I mean, or high safety over with a cornerback in double coverage. I think that, again, they just haven't used them, and you know what, I never put it in until you said it. He wasn't drafted for this defense. He was drafted for Pagano's defense, which is a very different defense.
Yep.
So I'll gladly, when he's a free agent next year, have him sign with the Patriots, and I'll show you how to use it. Now,
figure it out.
Moving on to your next player. I'm going to prelude this for you guys, okay? Beyond this wall of soccer scarves in my studio area, I have my man cave. I have only two autographed helmets, full-size helmets. I have an ugly-ass purple and black helmet, but it's got a beautiful Ray Lewis signature on it.
Sounds like a beautiful helmet to me, then.
And then I have a silver Ohio State Buckeyes helmet that has Campbell's autograph on it. Lawrence, you missed out on having one of the best receivers in the league just because of pure bad luck. Fractured hand, fractured foot, hamstring, abdominal. I don't expect this to be a repeat for Paris Campbell this season. I expect him to be somewhat healthy because what you got, and I think that he is going to benefit from Phillip Rivers and having Jacoby Brissett. I really do. I think that Phillip Rivers is a better quarterback for Campbell. You got a guy that ran a 4.31 40-yard dash. You got a guy with big playability. You got a guy that can take a top off a defense, can run almost every route that you want him to route. Big-time speed, can stretch a defense, can run under routes. His yak yards can be absolutely phenomenal. He's being compared to Tyreek Hill for his game-breaking ability. I don't have much more to add than that when we talk about all the guys, including the two that I picked. When we talk about the guy who I think has the best chance of having that breakout season, it's Mr. Paris Campbell. He's just, the kid is absolutely phenomenal. Again, I could be biased because I could have my Ohio State shirt on right now thinking about this, but it's funny because, you know, N'Keal Harry got roasted for his rookie year, which was very injury-filled, missed half the season. And Paris, he kind of just flew under the radar. You know what I mean? Like nobody was really getting mad at him and
Colts fans.
Well, outside of Indianapolis, but it wasn't, you know, front page stuff. But it's a Colt fans. Listen, Lawrence, you can sit there and say that a Patriots fan said this. Next time you're talking to your Colts fans, be patient with this kid. He's going to be a top 10 in the NFL. If he stays healthy, if this injury string continues, it just gets harder and harder, especially when you're dealing with feet issues. We talked about it with Joe talked about with Hollywood, right? Screws in your feet. when you're dealing with feet issues, and he's had a leg and a foot issue. But if he can stay healthy, the kid is phenomenal. Joe, it's up to you, buddy.
Woo! Well, how do I follow that? You just heaped praises on this player, and I'm here to just totally bring the storm and just tear it all down. But that's what I do, I guess. So, Paris Campbell, second round pick, obviously for the Indianapolis Colts. I think it speaks a lot. I mean, firstly, that they went ahead and took another receiver in the second round this year. So I'm just saying that speaks volumes right then and there. But Paris Campbell, man, when the very little that I did watch of Paris Campbell back in Ohio State, because the Ravens were linked to Paris Campbell. They're like, we were hearing, Eric DeCosta loves Paris Campbell. And I'm like, let me check this guy out. What I saw, and maybe it was just like, I saw maybe one, maybe two games. He looked to me like a very short route receiver, stays close to the line of scrimmage. He's going to do quick little, curl routes. He'll take it on, run after the catch. He can go deep occasionally, but I think he would be more suited over the middle. At least that was my impression of him. Again, and Lawrence, you've seen plenty more about him than I have, and same thing with you, Ray, but that's just my impression of him. And to be honest with you, I didn't have big expectations of Paris Campbell. I thought he would be a good complementary piece, but I don't know. I just don't know. Now that you drafted Michael Pittman, you have T.Y. Hilton healthy. He's, T.Y. Hilton, as far as I know, is a slot receiver, so he might, I don't know how that's going to work with Paris Campbell, but that's just my take. Lawrence, what do you got, man?
All right, first off, I understand your takes because they're all outside of the Indianapolis Colts,
exactly.
Not understanding what's going on. Okay, so T.Y. Hilton plays all three positions at the wide receiver position.
Gotcha.
He's played wide receiver one left. He played wide receiver one right. He's played slot. He's played bunch. T.Y. can do it all. He learned from Reggie. Reggie learned from Marvin. And Marvin is weird because Marvin, you knew where Marvin was every stinking time the ball was snapped. He was on the right side, and he was always going to be on the right outside. But Reggie wasn't like that, and he taught T.Y. And now T.Y. can go everywhere on the field. That's what makes him so dangerous. What the Colts haven't had in the recent years is a true big-bodied number one 50-50 catch ball guy. That's why they went and got Michael Pittman.
Mm-hmm.
Paris Campbell, and you are about dead right. Paris Campbell is that slot guy, that guy that could go and run. I'm telling you what, had he been healthy, he would have had a really good year. With Rivers there, he's going to have an outstanding year. Why? Because I can't think of too many other players in the NFL that could take a drag route the way Paris Campbell will be able to, with Phillip Rivers throwing him an absolutely beautifully catchable football and watching him take that on the run and watch the kind of yak yards that he's going to get after the catch. Any kind of drag route, any kind of post seam route, any type of crossing pattern. Oh my God, he'd be so dangerous on rub routes, on scissor routes and things of that nature. Paris will be absolutely dangerous. His takeoff is so good that if the cornerback does not have at least 7 yards off the line of scrimmage from him, he'll have 2 steps on him within 15 yards. I've seen it over and over and over. It's scary. A lot of the problem was Jacoby Brissett just did not know how to take heat off a football when he threw the ball. Now, granted, Paris was injured almost the entire season last year. So teams are not even going to be looking to cover Paris Campbell this year because they're going to forget about him like you did, Joe.
These teams are not going to forget about Paris Campbell. Nice try, though.
But, I mean, you're going to have T.Y. Hilton, which they obviously have to account for.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have Michael Pittman Jr. on the other side. Michael Pittman on the other side. They're going to have to account for. You're going to have your third corner covering Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell's going to eat a lot.
He's going to be Tyreek Hill, man. He's going to be Tyreek Hill for Phillip Rivers.
I think so too. I think you're going to see where he'll catch a lot of passes between the 3-yard and 8-yard from beyond the line of scrimmage. But you're going to end up seeing that he'll take those an additional 5 to 10 yards as well, just because, what he could do after he catches it. As long as he's catching it and he's moving while he's catching it, he is so dangerous. So dangerous. Like you say, just like Tyreek Hill.
Well, as I sat here and complimented 2 Ohio State boys, which I absolutely love, we now have to move on to a Michigan Wolverine of all people as we get into the New England Patriots. So I don't know who wants to start, but my first breakout for my defensive player is Chase Winovich this season.
I can start.
Joe can start.
So I did check this guy out because he was, it feels like we always need edge rushers. It's one of those positions the Ravens always need, is along with wide receiver. It's edge rusher. So Chase Winovich was definitely one of those guys. He reminded me and I know he's like the white Terrell Suggs, the way he plays, or at least what I saw. So I was pretty high on this guy. I'm like, yeah, let's try to take him in the second and the third. I think he'll fit this defense perfectly. And lo and behold, a team that, runs very similar style defenses to that we do, the New England Patriots, they go ahead and take Chase Winovich. So, I could definitely see he's like the perfect Patriot. Looks, aside, he definitely seems to fit that Patriots defense, no doubt about it. So I could definitely see why you picked him, Ray, to be your breakout candidate.
I like Chase Winovich. I think this is a pretty good. But this is New England.
Yeah.
All right. So, it could be someone that we assume is going to be a third string starter this year, and then, Mr. Bill's going to bring him out and go, yeah, he's going to be the star this year, and I'm going to trade him off for a first round and a third round pick. Yeah, that's just what they do. So what I want to know is, even though, yes, he had a pretty good, see, I'm sitting here looking, he had 5 sacks. He had some tackles every game. Every game he was in, he did not have a statless game all season. Was your bye week 10 last year?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, the only statless week was week 10. So
which is a good thing.
Which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah. Especially since he was a rookie last year, right?
He was, yep. And he was primarily used on third down, obvious pass situations. That was his role.
That's very impressive. My only question is he gonna, at his size, which I'm about 250, I think.
Yep.
So he's about 250. He should be able to be an all 3 down defensive end. Well, not for a 3-4 though.
No, but not for a 3-4. And if you're done, I'll go. But if you're not done, I'll stop.
Go ahead.
Chase Winovich is going to become a hybrid this year of an outside linebacker and edge rusher. We call it the Rob Ninkovich role in New England, and it's something that Belichick likes to have. And Kyle Van Noy sort of played this role last year, where you have a guy playing an outside linebacker position, but also setting the edge. And we think, at least my opinion, a lot of Patriot fans, we all believe that Chase Winovich is going to move into that position. It's also very Bill Belichickian to, when you have a guy who you see as a future guy, to limit him in his rookie season. If you're a running back, you're going to be redshirted, hence my next guy we're going to talk about. With defensive players, you're going to get your limited opportunities. But being just a third down guy, he came up with 26 tackles, 5.5 sacks. I believe he blocked a punt this year too, which led to a touchdown. Or he ran it in for he got his hands on the ball. Something. He did something with a punt that turned into a touchdown this year. So he's a two-team guy in special teams and defense. When you're looking at him coming out of college, 166 tackles in 3 years, 43 of those were for losses, 18.5 sacks. He forced 3 fumbles, recovered 3 balls. Again, like a Ravens defense, the same as the Patriots. He's a motor guy. He's a high effort guy, high octane guy. He plays like an absolute animal. He was projected to go in the second round. A lot of analysts, when the Patriots got him in the third round last year, were calling him the steal of the draft, being able to get him as deep into the third round. I think he was our second pick in the third round too. I could be wrong on that, but we took 2 guys in the 3rd round. But I think at the end of the day too is when you look at this Patriots team, this is going to be predicated on the defense being a top 5 and the special teams being a top 10, and Winovich has to contribute in both of those. So that's why I believe that he's going to be our breakout guy this year, because I think just because his role is going to expand so much, but you're still going to have Dante Hightower beside him, who's going to be sort of the field general for those guys to make sure that everybody's where they need to be.
Do you think he's going to be a high sack type of guy, or he's going to be more of like a balanced,
He's going to be more balanced because he can play the run too. He sets an edge in the run, and that's something that we didn't get to see last year, but I got to watch him a few times in Michigan when he played Ohio State, and he can really set an edge. So I think we're going to see more of that. I like to see him with his fingers in the dirt more than standing up. The Patriots stand him up a lot. But I believe that we're going to see him kind of all over the field. And if you ever look up Rob Ninkovich, he was
I remember.
Yeah, turned him into a very hybrid type of player. So he could have his fingers in the dirt and then drop back into coverage. You know what I mean? Like he was that type of guy. And I think that now Chase isn't necessarily going to be covering too many people, but you could see him drop into zones, and he's got enough athleticism to do that. And he could get after the quarterback if need be. The thing is with the Patriots draft this year, bringing in a guy like Kyle Duggar, who can be a strong safety and kind of come in as an edge thing. Same with Uche, is what you can do is give him an expanded role and use those guys as your 3rd down pass rushers and allow Chase to sort of be on the field more. Last year, I think he was on the field for like 31% of the plays or something like that. I expect him to be closer to the 50-60%. And I mean, the top Patriots only going to play about 50% of a play, right? That's how Belichick rotates his defense. So I would expect him to be out there for about at least 50% of the plays. And that's why I see him being the breakout.
All right.
My second guy is somebody you may not be too familiar with, because there's probably a lot of Patriot fans aren't too familiar with him, but it's a former Alabama running back who I think dressed for 1 game last season, but I think my breakout offensive player is going to be Damian Harris.
Wow.
Who wants to tackle that one first?
Well, go ahead, Lawrence. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm still watching, but I'm kind of impressed.
You're impressed by Damian Harris?
A little bit.
Okay. So, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, Damian Harris is more of like a power style runner, correct? Or is
correct? He'd be a power guy.
So I think I know why you chose Damian Harris, because you've told us many, many times that this Patriots team is just going to be a run-first team, right? So you're expecting this running game with Sony Michel and Damian Harris, as a type of thunder and lightning connection. I think you're expecting Damian Harris to be your type of LeGarrette Blount role, or maybe like a Jonas Gray role, right? That type of running back, which is fair. And I could see why you would say that he will break out, because that's just the type of offense that Bill Belichick is going to try to run with this power back and this thunder and lightning thing. We'll see how it goes, man. I mean, he could pretty much come out and have like 300 yards, and that would even be an improvement, because he's done nothing so far. So
like 3 carries.
Right. So that's a pretty safe pick, I'd say.
All right. So I'm sitting here right now actually watching some all-22 of him while he was in Alabama. And this kid has got a very nice first step off the ball. Very nice. And he's got really good kind of tight moves. I like to call them tight moves, where you don't really move a whole lot side to side, but just enough to where his power is able to get by you on an arm tackle, to kind of get defenders off their balance. I actually think that he should. I think honestly, I've watched Michelle. I think he should start over him.
All right. Let me address that then. First of all, Damian Harris not playing next year should not worry any Patriot fans or anybody out there. Bill Belichick redshirting a rookie running back is nothing new. Almost every single running back minus Sony Michel has been redshirted. James White, Shane Vereen, they've all been redshirted. They don't start. He always sits them. Plus, when you look at the Patriots running back core last year, they had James White, Sony Michel, Brandon Bolden, Rex Burkhead. They already had a full running back core. You couldn't put him in.
Great.
I actually agree with you 1,000,000%, Lawrence, that Damian Harris if he shows he can do in the NFL what he did in college, should start over Sony Michel.
Mm-hmm.
I lost a lot of faith in Sony Michel last season. Not because he can't run, not because he's not fast, not because he can't, do things. Sony Michel can't break a tackle. And that became very, very concerning to me.
Now, is it true that he was in Belichick's doghouse, as the national media says?
He had to have been. I mean, I think he went from his rookie year, he was averaging 4.5 yards per run, and he dropped down to 3.5 last year. And the people go, what happened? It's a sophomore slump. No, we had fullbacks injured and offensive line problems. And so when I started watching his rookie season over again, I was just flicking through and watching over again. The holes were the size of my basement that he was running through. You know what I mean? And that's what I was getting. But what I realized was, even back in his rookie year, 9 out of 10 times he was going down on first contact. If you're going to be sort of the primary every down running back, 7 out of 10, or at least 3-4 out of 10 runs, you have to shed a tackler. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At least 40% of the time you need to break a tackle. You can't run at 10% of the time breaking a tackle. Look at Mark Ingram. He was at least a 30-40% guy that could break out. That's my concern with Sony Michel. Damian Harris, number one, fits the Patriots offense, not just because he can be a power runner, but because it's a platoon, and the Patriots really do running back by committee. And that's what he had in Alabama. He was a committee running back. Otherwise, his stats would have been way higher. He only hit like 800 yards. He had 1,000 yards his first years. The only reason he had 800 yards his final year in Alabama was because I think they had 4 running backs. They were all platooning themselves, and he still ended up with 800 yards.
They had Josh Jacobs, I believe.
They did.
Yeah.
He still ended up with a college career of 6.4 yards per run. You know what I mean? And I don't expect that in the NFL, but I expect a 4.5, 4.7, you know what I mean? Sort of that area. He's not really used in the passing game. I think he had 52 catches or something like that in college for a couple of touchdowns, but I'm going to go back to the Miami Dolphin game. I'm going to go back to the Tennessee Titans game on, first and goals, and we couldn't punch the ball into the end zone and had to settle for field goals because Sony Michel couldn't break through the offensive line because we didn't have a traditional fullback. That can't happen this year. I mean, we all know. Look, I've already said it. Realistically, the Patriots are going to go 8-8, and I've said that. I think that when I look at it realistically, they're an 8-8 team. But now saying that, we don't know how Jarrett Stidham is going to perform, and you can't really make those decisions until you see it. He's not established like Lamar. He's not established like Phillip Rivers. You know what I mean? We've never seen the kid play. The way I have it for the Patriots to have success and maybe win 10, 11 games and work their way into a playoff spot is the defense has to be a top 5, the special teams has to be a top 10, and the offense has to be a top 15, right? Even if they're 15th, they have to be a top 15. If Jarrett Stidham can manage a game properly and Damian Harris can pound the ball, that's the only way I see the Patriots getting to that level of, 10, 11 wins, which I'm not saying they're going to, but that's the only way I see them getting there. And I don't think they can put it on Sony Michel's back, and I think they're going to put a lot of this weight on Damian Harris this season. And this is a big year for Sony because the Patriots got to decide whether or not they're using this 5th-year option. And I think just like, Hooker, they're not going to be using the 5th-year option on him this year. I think that he's going to be a free agent. And I think Damian Harris is going to be the guy going forward, even though Sony was our first-round pick, 2 years ago.
I'm sitting here watching him. His size helps him out so much as well because he's a little dude.
Yep.
And he'll be able to lose people behind that massive offensive line that you guys have. I mean, you guys are known for having wide-bodied offensive linemen, and he could hide behind those. And since he's built low, he can get his arm up in the lower back of offensive linemen like you want on when you're, first and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line and just kind of shove forward. He's the guy that, I fully agree that he's the guy that you guys need to go with. And with his little quick bursts, and he showed that he could catch the football as well from the tape that I was watching while you were talking and trying to listen to you at the same time. He seems to be a pretty good player. I am surprised that he was redshirted. Like you said, though, I mean, he's Belichick does like the redshirt players, but especially running backs. But my goodness, man, I think he's going to be a well-kept secret. It's going to bust out. I agree with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about Damien Harris. Patriot fans are screaming. I got to just read this comment to you guys. So a Patriot fan on Sportscastr, when I was talking about Sony Michel not being able to break tackles, he just wrote, break a tackle, ? He just runs into people and falls. Which is exactly the way Sony Michel played this year. It's why he was so friggin' frustrating. And that's why I got Damien Harris as my breakout guy, because I think last year they put it in Sony's hands and said, show us what you got, kid, and what we kept hearing from the coaches, especially Ivan Fears, the running back coach, was we haven't even scratched the surface of how good Sony Michel is. And he just seemed, what I saw last year was no fullbacks and a weak offensive line. He looked nothing like he did as a rookie. Damien Harris is small, but he's powerful, and he can be a true power back with his small size. And I agree. He can get lost behind the offensive line, shed a tackle, and I think that we might see him break off some of those 15, 17, 20-yard runs this year just because of his pure strength and, stout sort of demeanor. So it's what it is. And I want to go back to Chase Winovich for 1 second, if I can, because it was a point I wanted to make and I forgot. Now, we've talked a few times, Joe, about slowing down Lamar Jackson. I think we've all agreed by now. Well, Joe will always agree, but I think, Lawrence, you and I have agreed by now you can't stop Lamar Jackson, but you can try to slow him down, right?
Obviously.
Chase Winovich, to me, is a type of player that if the Patriots could get 2 or 3 of those kind of guys, those are the kind of guys that can slow down a Chase or a Lamar Jackson, not just because of they're talented. He finds the ball very well. You saw it in college, and you saw it in his limited time in the NFL. And that's the biggest thing about beating Lamar. And you made that point to us when we were on your podcast was, half the time the guy's up the field, you don't even know where the ball is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are still ball watching. A guy like Chase Winovich can find the ball. And again, we'll have to study a little harder about how to find the ball against the Ravens because it's different altogether. It's a completely different offense. And I think that that's the way we're going to start seeing defenses built is guys like Chase Winovich, some a little bit more athletic, some of them a little bigger. But I think it's all going to be about versatility and guys that can line up kind of all over the place and guys that can find the football because that's the only way you can slow down a Lamar Jackson. It's the only way it can happen because if you just have a bunch of really skilled guys, they're just going to be watching. Or you can play 8 safeties and just get beat everywhere else. You know what I mean? So it's
no. Try that now. Try that nowadays.
I know, and he's going to run over you. That's
exactly.
The thing about Lamar. He's so freaking strong. He's just going to run over you, right?
Yeah.
So, boys, I mean, honestly, Joe, except for Tyus Bowser.
Shout out Tyus Bowser.
I think, we all had some good plays there. And I mean, I hope Bowser works out. I really do. I like when players work, even if it's for teams I don't like. I don't like to see guys have failed careers. You know what I mean?
And again, I'm not, this is not me saying that he's going to stay on the Ravens. I don't think that. I think he's going to play himself into a contract on another team, just like Zadarius Smith did. Yeah. And I mean, Zadarius Smith balled out, but there's very few, linebackers that end up working out as much for other teams you'll find in NFL history.
CJ Mosley.
Well, I mean, he was hurt last year, so. But I mean, I'm glad we didn't pay him $17 million. Anyway.
I agree. I never understand why people sign Patriots defensive players. They're never the same players they were in New England. They'd probably be the same in a place like Baltimore because it's a similar defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you sign defensive players, you got to find someone that's a scheme fit.
Yeah. And I find sometimes just guys just get paid because of what they did the year before, but then it's almost like a guy like Hooker. He would fit perfect into the Patriots defense right now where he's not working in Indy because it's a different coach. You know what I mean? But then if he goes to a team like Tampa, he's a mess again like he is in Indianapolis. You know what I mean? Like it's always strange. Yep. Well, boys, we went an hour. I knew we'd go an hour. It's why we didn't really talk about Kyler Murray. Right. So anybody who was here to hear about Kyler Murray, we had no intentions. We had no intentions of talking about Kyler Murray at all. So we were just fooling you to come in.
Yeah.
Again, guys, thank you for tuning in to Sportscastr News. As always, thank you to my partners in crime, my colleagues, the Sportscastr News NFL crew, Joe Noobo and Lawrence Owen. My name is Ray Rauth. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. See you
later.